What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. I wanted to chat a little bit about the wide receiver position, and specifically, at least one of my favorite, I guess you can call him an analyst, right? Connor Rodgers. I see him all over the place, SNY, New York Stock Exchange podcast, etc., etc. But I've seen him on SNY, and he had an interesting bit of commentary there where he pretty much threw his support behind Jason Brownlee, right, when it comes to this wide receiver room. You take a look at things, I get the feeling that things have solidified maybe a little bit more than what we would have expected a couple weeks ago, right? A lot of people absolutely wanted Allen Lazard out the window, but for what it's worth, you take a look at how things stack up right now. We have Garrett Wilson absolutely wrecking things all offseason. Mike Williams active, coming back a lot sooner than many of us expected, about a week or two ahead of schedule, which is absolutely great news for us. Then you have the surprise rise of Xavier Gipson into a starting role where many people probably would have penciled in Malachi Corley or assumed Allen Lazard will slide into the slot. But Xavier Gipson's now solidified himself as a starting option within this wide receiver room. Allen Lazard is the immediate backup to Mike Williams as the X receiver, and then you start taking a look at positions 5 and 6, right? Irv Charles feels like with his special teams prowess and him also flashing during the offseason, he solidified a spot, which means we are most likely looking at one final battle here for wide receiver 6. If we want to carry that many, I doubt we carry 7 as well, but specifically speaking about wide receiver 6, you're now talking about Jason Brownlee versus the likes of most likely candidates would probably be Tyler Harrell, undrafted free agent, speedster. He's had some solid moments throughout training camp. And then the other name I'm thinking of, Malik Taylor. And Malik Taylor has absolutely wrecked the defense in certain practices with multiple big plays. And we seen this from him last year as well. So there is a consistency factor to this. But going back to the focal point here, Connor Rodgers threw his support behind Jason Brownlee, and he kind of highlighted, I'll get into the quote here in a moment, essentially highlighted that he would be betting on the red zone ability and contested catch ability that Jason Brownlee could bring to that unit, right? He says, I want to see this summer what they have in Jason Brownlee because this is a team that needs more in the red zone. And he essentially, paraphrasing here, mentioned throw him into the fire during this offseason. All the preseason games, many joint practices, etc. as you can. While Mike Williams is working his way back, you're able to play around with the rotation a little bit, expose Jason Brownlee as much as you can to really figure out what you have, because don't forget last year he flashed a ton, right? Everybody got extremely hyped over all of the intermediate and deep catches, the one-handed grabs that we were seeing, him just going out there and straight mossing people. And even though it's been a slow start to him this year, he's finally in the last 3 or 4 practices consecutively has started to make quite a bit of noise, to the point that you're hearing the coaches have to comment on it now in press conferences and different things like that are going on. So it's all a plus. Again, still a young guy, right? He's going into year 2 of the system, so you would imagine that he has more of a leg up on a guy like Tyler Harrell. Malik Taylor, I would imagine, being his prime competition, especially since I think Malik Taylor, and I meant to go back and double check this, but I think he's working through some special team stuff as well, and so they may choose to side with the veteran in Malik Taylor and try to give Jason Brownlee another look at the practice squad, give him a bit more development. But honestly, I don't think you can really go wrong when it comes to wide receiver 6. They're not going to see the field most times to even be active on game days. And when you do end up needing to rely on them, I do think Jason Brownlee is probably the more flexible fit in this offense, right? You want to talk about the backup to the backup. Mike Williams' backup being Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard's backup would be Jason Brownlee. Otherwise, you're looking at a guy like Irvin Charles from, again, a physical profile to go out there and try to replicate what they can do. But who knows how this is going to play out. For what it's worth, if you're going to throw your support behind one of these last guys, if the way that I set up the depth chart ends up being accurate, you probably want to side with the youth, right? We've seen the Jets do this more often than not, but one of the things, missing piece of information we'll never really get until the final cuts are in, is how well have these players executed. The X's and O's have stressed or strained, as they say, throughout the entirety of this offseason. They really take a look at that, and you don't have to look any further than a guy like Tony Adams on the roster. Look at somebody like Tanzel Smart, who's been able to make a habit of not only being on the practice squad, but being one of the first call-ups, as opposed to having to go out there and sign a free agent first, right? Unless there's a big deal or something favorable that falls into our lap. But ultimately, let me know what you guys think. Are you in the same boat as Connor Rodgers here and you are betting big on Jason Brownlee, or do you have another sneaky favorite in this wide receiver room? And I know there's actually plenty of you that are big fans of Tyler Harrell, so I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.